The Things They Carried is written and narrated by Tim O'Brien, and it is also a historical fiction novel. The Things They Carried is set in the late 1960s during the Vietnam War, where the majority of the soldiers' time is spent in a humid and dangerous jungle where everything and everyone wants to kill them. The Things They Carried is a novel with the protagonist Tim O'Brien, and it begins by describing an event that occurred in the middle of his Vietnam experience. The Things They Carried catalogs the variety of things his fellow soldiers in Alpha Company brought on their missions. Several of these things are intangible, including guilt and fear, while others are specific physical objects, including matches, morphine, M16 rifles, and even M&M candies. There are many characters in the novel, but I will be focusing and describing the main 8 characters. Tim O'Brien, the narrator and protagonist of the collection of the stories. O'Brien is a pacifist who rationalizes his participation in Vietnam by concluding that his feelings of obligation towards his family and country are stronger influences than his own politics. Jimmy Cross, the lieutenant of Alpha Company and the one who is responsible for the entire group of men. Mitchell Sanders, one of the most likable soldiers in war. Sanders strongly influences the narrator O'Brien. He is kind and devoted, and he has a strong sense of justice. Kiowa, O'Brien's closest friend and model of a quiet, rational soldier in war. Norman Boker, a man who embodies the damage that war can do long after the war is over. Henry Dobbins, the platoon's machine gunner and resident gentle giant. Bob Cat Riley, the platoon's medic, and Ted Lavender, a young scared soldier in Alpha Company. Lavender is the first to die in Alpha. Some important parts of the novel are: in the summer of 1968, Tim O'Brien receives a draft's notice. Despite a desire to follow his convictions and flee to Canada, he feels that he would be embarrassed to refuse to fulfill his patriotic duty and so concedes to fight in Vietnam. Number 2. The many times the Alpha Company goes on search and destroy missions, killing and burning many villagers and villages. Number 3. When Lieutenant Cross burns the letters and pictures from Martha and vows to become a better leader. I will be reading a passage from the beginning of the novel when Lieutenant Cross burns the pictures and letters from Martha because he feels that Ted Lavender's death was his responsibility for not looking at his men and caring more about back home life than actual war life. On the morning Ted Lavender died, First Lieutenant Jimmy Cross crouched at the bottom of his foxhole and burned Martha's letters. Then he burned the 2 photographs. There was a steady rain falling, which made it difficult, but he had used the heat labs in Sterno to build a small fire, screening it with his body, holding the photographs over a tight blue flame with the tips of his fingers. He realized it was the only one gesture. Stupid, he thought. Sentimental too, but mostly just stupid. Lavender was dead, but you couldn't burn the blame. People would enjoy this book because it is written in extreme detail and it's easy to put yourself in the setting. You will also learn about Vietnam in a soldier's perspective. And finally, watching the character's growth is relatable in the sense of coming to age in extreme situations such as war.